Hello guys, welcome to another grand interesting episode on our Leansimcorp channel, and we are going to start a very interesting series about understanding simulation, different softwares, the benefits, features and a lot more. This series is going to be a guide for every engineer who want to understand this virtual world which replicates real world, and what different software does and a lot. So it's going to help you for what? It's going to help you for building your knowledge base, increase your skill sets, making you aware about new developments in this field, and making you technically sound about simulation. So you're going to stay tuned on Leansimcorp. It's going to be one of its unique kind of series. Okay. The best part, about simulation I like, it's like just playing games. For me, I'm very game enthusiastic. I really love, games which need analytics, strategy building, and stuff like that. Simulation for me is the same thing, where I use my engineering mind to replicate these real world systems in virtual environment and test them, run them, and validate that. The best part about simulation field also I feel that is that the simulation community is, highly responsible for driving changes, improvements, reducing cost, helping management take decisions very wisely related to cost. And I feel that all we simulation engineers as together are really doing a great job and are one of the most responsible community which has a very major role in decision making, right? So being said that, let's understand what the simulation is actually. Okay, now simulation, most of the people already knew that it's nothing but the replica of the actual real world systems, right? You would have seen simulations like rail simulation, flight simulator and stuff like that. It's similar to that, guys. It's only about industries, and that's the beauty of it. If you love industries, if you are a mechanical engineer, industrial engineer, and you are crazy about processes, simulation is for you. Okay, now what simulation does, it basically builds, or in the simulation what you need to do is you need to build and capture all the rules of your real life into your virtual environment. And why we do that? We do that to test it. We do that to validate the inputs. We do that because you can test, any hypothetical scenarios as well in your virtual environment. But again, simulation is not that for. It is to, safely test all those parameters and processes which are really vital for your industries. You cannot test those, by going live or onto the shop floor. Or if you have a high cost in doing so, you do simulation, right? So the digital model which you can test any real-time system, behaviors at minimum cost, that is simulation, right? And when we talk about simulation, right, there is another question which arises, that why engineers then simulate, right? Is there actually a need to do that? Does it really matters in industries? And many industries are now evolving and understanding the importance of simulation, and down the line, I guarantee, and I feel very strongly that simulation is definitely going to be a permanent part of validating any process. Okay, and why engineers simulate that? Why that matters? Because the speed of execution is very important. It compresses your months of physical testing into minutes of computing time. Okay, it is going to lower your risk, right? Fail safely in software, but you cannot afford failing on line or shop floor while executing or implementing your lines, right? So before failure cost money or lives, you can test that very safely in the software in a virtual environment. It is going to lower your cost for definitely, because it replaces expensive prototypes. There is no need for prototyping and field trials with virtual runs. You're going to eliminate the high cost. And the deeper insights you're going to get from simulated environment, guys, that is bang on. Like you can see any of the statistics you want, you just need to create that, just to have that as a parameter, and you're going to get at just a click the insights, the stats, and whatever you want in terms of analytics, you're going to get that. And that's where it matters, and that is why engineers simulate, to reduce all these things and bring these into system. But then, okay, now why engineers use, that's a great thing. Now, how simulation works? That is then the next question which arises. How is the workflow? So it is a very simple process for any type of simulation. These are the steps you are supposed to follow. The first thing is you're going to create a model. Okay, this model is going to capture the systems, parts, rules, and relationships, right? Then you're going to define inputs. You're going to set parameters, assumptions. You're going to Then you're going to have a testing of different scenarios, right? And the next thing you're going to do is you're going to run. So you have a model, you feed in the inputs, and you run the simulation model. Just like a game. Think about a GTA 5 or Age of Empires, right, guys? What do you do there? You create your empire in Age of Empires. If you have played, that's my favorite game, guys. I am an Age of Empire fan. If you are, put that in the comment section below. I am very fan of strategical games rather than if GTA 5 and GTA Vice Cities are also good, but Age of Empire has a next level planning and just so. And what do you do there, right? You create a model, right? You create an empire there, and what do? You define inputs, like you assign operators to assign villagers to pick up a wood, gold, stone, right? To assign some of the people to build castles and stuff like that. Once that is done, now then you run a simulation. What is that run a simulation? You are playing a game actually when you run a simulation. And then when you play a game, you run the simulation, you execute the model 1,000 times, right? In a game, you don't do that, by the way, right? You're running a game that's real time, you put inputs, and based on that inputs, you will automatically get instant outputs. Game is advanced version of simulation, I feel. And then you analyze, you measure the output, compare scenarios, and optimize, right? Just like that, in the Age of Empires, you create an empire, you do all planning, you run, like running is like you're playing the game. And then based on your planning, 0, 1, 0, 2, and 0 to 3 steps, you're going to decide whether you're going to sustain in the game or you're going to get defeated. And that's analysis. Whether our simulation, whatever we have done and inputs we have put in, analysis is going to tell us that whether our plan is perfect or it is going to be a bad choice or it's going to get a disaster for us. And this is how, guys, the simulation works. Now we have seen what is the simulation, right? Then we saw why engineers need to have simulation, and then we saw now that how a simulation works, right? The next part is going to be very fascinating and exciting. Probably we're going to discuss that in the next part. But before you go, I would like to tell you that we are going to understand about 6 ways to simulate a system, and it is going to be very great, guys. So stay tuned for the next part. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Leansimcorp. And we have a great platform. We have been developing an app where you can have tutorials, trainings, and get access to our premium content. Do not forget to visit app.leansimcorp.com. Have a look at that, guys. We have made a very hard work to generate that for you, best in class for you. And then we have a community being developed, community.leansimcorp.com. You can post your questions there. I'm planning to have a community where all simulation guys can have their questions put it there and answering each other and developing our simulation community. So what are you waiting for? Visit today to community.leansimcorp.com. Okay. So that's all. See you then. Keep watching Leansimcorp. Bye-bye.